We mentioned this before the break. It's not overstatement to put it this way. We want to show you the moment today when the president of Russia trolled our own reporter, our president, and all of us by extension. Here was the scene, a conference in Moscow moderated by our own veteran correspondent Keir Simmons, who asked Putin through a translator about interference in our elections.
Is Russia, as Robert Mueller alleged, attempting to influence the 2020 elections in the United States?
I'll tell you in a secret. Yes, we will definitely intervene. It's a secret, so that everybody can laugh, and so we'll go big. But don't tell anyone, please. Please don't tell anyone.
Also, during that conversation, Putin said he would be fine with the White House releasing notes of his conversations with Trump during last year's summit in Helsinki. Until now, Moscow has been opposed to releasing conversations between the two leaders. You may recall Putin met for the leader of our nation with the leader of our nation for 2 hours with just translators present. So that's reassuring. Putin also today gave a full-throated defense of Trump on the whistleblower controversy that he faces. Our guests remain here with us: Elizabeth Bumiller, Peter Baker, Carol Leonnig, and Frank Figliuzzi. Peter, having been stationed there in your career and lifetime, you know a thing or two about Putin and the Russians. What was he up to there today?
Well, you know, it reminds us, of course, of when the president and President Putin met most recently in Osaka, Japan. And basically, President Trump did the exact same thing. A reporter asked him, well, sir, are you going to tell President Putin not to interfere in our next election? And he turned to him and he sort of made it a joke. He said, don't interfere. And they both laughed about it. And you're seeing President Putin laugh about it here. And why not laugh? If you're President Putin, this has accomplished a lot of what you wanted. You know, putting aside even who he wanted to be elected, and the intelligence communities concluded they wanted President Trump to be elected, they wanted to disrupt our democracy. They wanted to disrupt our system. They wanted us to cause doubt in our institutions and our leadership. And here we are at each other's throat as a country. And that's almost exactly what Vladimir Putin would have wanted.
So, Elizabeth, we're looking at two leaders, disparate though they may be, with interlocked interests.
That's right. What it shows you is how much they're in simpatico with each other. You know, Putin was joking, and so was Donald Trump, about a major attack on our democratic system in 2016. Let's not forget that. The other thing we need to remember is that when Putin met with Trump in Germany in 2017, they were alone only with a translator, with an interpreter, and Trump took the interpreter's notes from that conversation. They haven't been seen since. It's very interesting that they just disappeared. Those conversations are usually kept within the government and as records of history. We don't have that. We don't know what transpired between those two leaders in that private meeting.
Frank, what do you make of the Putin we saw today?
Yeah, let's be clear. This was not some lighthearted moment with Putin. Putin is no prankster. That's not his reputation. What we were watching was the response of a trained veteran KGB officer to a question that made him very uncomfortable. He chose to respond with humor, in part because of his discomfort with it, but also, Brian, because if he chose to do an outright denial, no, Russia has no intention of interfering with the 2020 election, he wouldn't leave open the possibility that he might, and that is to sow further doubt and discord in the outcome of the 2020 election. He'll never come out and say we won't do it because he wants us to think that he might and that he has if we don't like the outcome of the 2020 election.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.